Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and I have the flu. But you know what? That's not going to stop me from getting excited about the announcement about Duo Standard, the big thing that's going down for Arena, I think. I don't remember where they said it's going, to be perfectly honest. And also, I'm lying. I'm not excited. I want to go to bed. But hey, if you like this video, leave a like on it, and if you dislike it, hit the off button, because I don't give a Why don't you stop watching videos you hate, get your fat ass off the internet, and go to the gym, you fat So this article was written by Marshall Sutcliffe. Have you guys noticed that like nothing has been written by what is it? Not Sweater Vest guy. That's very other weird guy. I think he died and they're trying to cover it up. Like he legit hasn't written anything I read in like a week. I'm a little bit worried. But yeah, this is written by Marshall Sutcliffe. That sounds familiar, but I don't know anybody in the whatever he does. He looks like Rudy from Alpha Investments, so I'm just gonna say it's Rudy's brother. I don't know. This Duo Standard, the way I understand it from my memory, which is probably not how I should start out this video, is like you have two decks that you join the game with, and it randomly selects one, I think, or you select one. It sounded really stupid. And then both decks could be identical, so what was the point? And I believe they were going to use it at the Mythic Invitational and then roll it out for Arena after that, I think. I don't know. Nobody wants this. It's just stupid. So let's read what Mr. Marshall has to say. He says, "Hi, I'm Marshall from Beta Investments." Oh, that makes sense. "And I was chatting with one of the Magic Pro League players about the Mythic Invitational, and as I searched for words to describe the magnitude of the event, I had a realization." Oh, God, let me guess. I'm not even going to read the next sentence. I got my eyes closed. It's, "We need HP to sponsor this. Nothing will help you out in your arena game better than your computer completely and permanently failing." Oh, wow. What a shocker. This is the biggest, highest value Magic tournament ever. I was going to jump into why that's technically not true in my opinion, but I don't care. So blah, 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 I went to a bunch of tournaments, blah, 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 this is bigger, who cares? The factor that looms biggest is, of course, the freaking $1 million total prize pool. Yes, I actually read that verbatim. I have added things to this in case you're not familiar with my channel. It's called comedy. If you get last place, you still get $7,500. I'm laughing typing this because of how incredible that is. You might have some kind of mental problem. You live in Seattle, that'll get you 1 month rent. The hell are you on about? I forgot, Wizards employees get paid like crap. I assume he works there, I don't know. So first place gets $250,000 for cheating at Arena with a 13 land deck before they patch that little exploit out, so good for them. Oh, I take issue with this. He says, "And while that's not you never have to work again money, you can get about 20 years if you put it into like a really dividend heavy stock fund and then drew like a small portion of it every month. Oh, and made as much as I do in a year and we're cool with that." So if you're like 40 years old, yeah. Like, I'm sick of watching this douche talk about this crap. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. It's a big deal. 64 people. Who cares? Esports. Blah, blah, nobody cares. Okay. So Duo Standard for the first time. Like, why did I even read that first intro? It's just, oh, here, the marketing team told me to say this, except he didn't say that. So as part of the rollout, I literally have no idea what he's talking about. There is a brand new constructed format for this tournament called Duo Standard. This is a major change from previous iterations of Magic tournaments, and the competitors face a major strategic challenge when it comes to preparing for the event. Yeah, don't get the flu. Instead of a 60-card standard deck and a 15-card sideboard, the player will submit two 60-card standard decks. While the decks technically can have a 15-card sideboard for cards like Mastermind's Acquisition, the players will not be doing actual sideboarding during the event. For the two 60-card standard decks, they can do whatever they want. They can submit the same exact lists, they can submit two totally different lists, and they can even submit two similar lists, but with some key cards swapped in for certain matchups. That's actually smart. Make like the best deck, the most dynamic, open-ended deck, and then whatever it loses to, build a pre-sideboarded version of it. That's actually how I would play this. Also, I wouldn't play this. This is really stupid. So what's the one thing we want to avoid in Magic? Rock, paper, scissors, where this always beats that always beats this, and this always beats that, because it's boring and stupid. So his next sentence is, "This poses an absolutely fascinating game theory question that takes rock, paper, scissors to the limit." Yep, a bunch of binary win condition, oh look, I made the right decision and the game's already decided before it starts BS. Thanks. So once they're in the tournament, players will be paired up with an opponent. Which player goes first is decided at random. That hasn't been my experience. I mean, at least not in Ranked Arena Online. They might not even use a server. They might have some local rigged version of it or something. I don't know. Anyway, additionally, which deck they are playing in the first game is also chosen randomly. Okay, I take it back. Don't make the correct deck and then a sideboarded version, because it might choose the sideboarded version. Or figure out what makes it be not 50-50, because nothing is random in Arena, and then exploit it to play the deck you actually want. Which is how a lot of the people got to this tournament. Allegedly. For Game 2, the players will be forced to play with the deck they didn't get in the first game. What, you have to switch? Okay, I completely got the details wrong, but whatever. They probably changed them and are pretending like they didn't. So, also, the player who went first in Game 1 will go second for Game 2. Okay, that's interesting. That'll help your mulligan decisions if you take both of those into consideration, so that's cool. If there's a Game 3, the players get to choose which of their 2 decks to play with. Oh, that's where the choice comes in. Okay, but who goes first will once again be chosen at random. No, it won't. Strategically speaking, a few truths emerge pretty quickly. The biggest thing is that with no sideboarding, mid-range decks will suffer. I mean, I guess that's not universally true. It's just true most of the time, but yeah, I mean, he's got a point. At one time in this standard environment, Sultai midrange set the pace. It had a powerful mix of value creatures, planeswalkers, and the newly found Hydroid Krasis to power it in the late game. That's true, and I haven't seen that crap on Arena, like, very much at all. So apparently net decking is way more popular on Arena than I thought. I mean, people must have a lot of wild cards or a lot of money. Well, it's pretty much money. The thing that you don't realize until it's gone, though, is that much of its power was pulled from its fantastic sideboard options. Now, I did realize that. Once you take that away, the deck floats hopelessly into the middle, getting trounced by aggressive monocolored decks, and yet losing to Teferi, Hero of Dominaria from the Esper Control deck. Hey, I love how he explained why all of Arena and most of, honestly, just like F&M level standard has devolved into Esper Control and something like it, or like Simic Infinite Turn, whatever, you know, and some kind of white or red or pink Blitz deck. That's all anybody plays because that's all you can play in Best of 1. That's why sideboarding is important. I'm very good at sideboarding. I'm pretty adept at building sideboards, so I miss it personally, but I still don't want to sit for an hour and a half and play against Esper Control and then just cross my fingers and hope, oh, maybe I'll beat him in the second and third game, both of which are going to run for 30 minutes. Wow, to get 1 win tick. You will get nowhere if you play Best of 3 on Arena. So the end result is that you're incentivized to choose linear archetypes that are very one-minded and really punish the opponent for floundering in the mid-range. That is true. I've spoken to many of the Mythic Invitational competitors about their strategic approach to choosing the archetypes and lists that they chose. Oh, that's fun, and then he'll probably share it with his favorite people attending it to rig it. Great, thanks. And I'll tell you, there isn't a consensus on what is optimal quite yet. That's because a huge number of them, especially the ones that were just invited out of nowhere for practically no reason, shouldn't be there and suck at Magic. The ones who qualified on Arena are net-decking douchebags, and the pros aren't as good as you think they are because they cheat constantly, and you can't do that on digital as much. So, oh no, there's no consensus on the mathematically best way to run this because they all suck at math and Magic. I'm shocked. You invited people based on their gender, their sexual orientation, and their skin color, and then there's no consensus on what the best way to play is. I never saw that coming. So first he says, okay, you go for a linear archetype, so like the same deck in both slots, and then have your second deck be the same archetype. He literally just said that, but with cards brought in for your nightmare matchup. Well, that's the problem because you might play it first. That's why you should let them choose first. The downside of this, of course, is that you will be forced to play the lesser version of the deck at least once per match, regardless of whether you are facing that bad matchup or not. Yeah, that would backfire spectacularly. I will say, though, that would make for some entertaining games where somebody has like this heavily tweaked version of a deck and then they're forced to play with it second, and then somebody else has a heavily tweaked version of the deck and they're forced to play with it second, and it might completely change how the match goes. Like, that would actually be kind of entertaining to watch. Not to participate in, though. That's the nightmare scenario right there. So another approach is to go with 2 completely different archetypes, say one super aggressive, one super controlling deck, because that's all you can play in Standard right now. I might have added that. This can be a pretty swingy approach, but it does offer the most flexibility for Game 3 when that happens. I think you meant to say if there. It also adds testing time as you have to get used to playing both ends of the spectrum. Okay, I have like 50 decks and I'm perfect with all of them, and I play casually while watching Netflix. We'll see patterns emerge for how the players tackled this problem, but the answers are not obvious. I'm actually not convinced that there is an answer, but I think if I were to sit down and do the math for like a half hour, I would probably figure it out. I'm just not going to. I mean, I'm not going to the tournament. I'm just saying, if I was in for, $7,500 on the low end and $250,000 on the top end, I would shove a crystal ball up my ass and try to determine something based on what the farts smell like. Oh, we ain't ruling any potential advantage out when $250,000 is on the line, okay? I'd slash somebody's tires so they can't get to the tournament for about $50, okay? $250,000? That was a joke, by the way. I wouldn't do that, and plus I would just take an Uber, obviously. So then they... Holy shit. Oh, as soon as I fire, my whole body hurts. I hate this. I tried to call in sick to Susan Wabajak-Jinsky, the CEO of YouTube, and I'm like, can I take a sick day? And she said, get on that mic, white boy. Also a joke. Apparently I have to say that for stupid people. So the predicted metagame. Yeah, it's blue, red, and Esper. There. Let's see what this dumbass says. So what are the actual decks that people may be bringing to the event? Nothing, they're digital. It's a trick question. You trying to pull a sneaky on me, Marshall? Trying to bamboozle me? This is the Desolator Magic channel. We don't fall for that basic here. By the way, fair warning, April Fool's Day is coming. Just try and keep that in the back of your mind, because this is me we're talking about. Let's start with 2 decks you probably won't see much of at the tournament. Anything Death built, and also Sultai midrange. Well, that's true. Yeah, And Mono Blue Temples, that deck's, oh my god, the game's over on turn 3, okay? They get out 1 Terramander, and it is over. Everything you cast from then on will be countered. These decks had a big presence at the first, Mythic Championship in Cleveland. That was a thing. It must have been paper, and I didn't watch it and didn't give a crap. But in Duo Standard, they fall short. Interestingly, they do for different reasons. That's funny. I play nothing but best of 1, and it wins like you wouldn't believe. It's probably the hardest deck that I can play against with any of my decks. My control decks, rush decks, mid-range, anything. I have trouble beating it with all 3. I mean, 30 removal cards wouldn't even phase that deck. So Mono Blue actually does have many characteristics that you want in Duo Standard. Yeah, it does. It's assertive, consistent, and has a repeatable game plan. Yes, it does. The problem is that its best matchup, mid-range decks, that's not true at all, aren't very popular in Duo Standard. So instead, you have to face off against a bunch of quicker, more aggressive decks. No, it crushes anything the speed and control density of Esper control, because it's control, but it's like centralized duck and cover, just protect the birds control, which is faster. So you're 2 turns ahead of them, and you just stop everything they do and just hit them over and over and over, and the game's over. Mono red, yeah, you'll get your ass kicked. I don't know, you counter enough risk factors though. Turn 3 Tempest Gen going first, you might have that. I don't know, it's not an absolute loss. I wouldn't put it above 50%, but it's not devastating. By the way, do you think the players will have the balls to show up at the tournament with a 13 land red deck? Do you think they'll do it? I would love to hear your prediction down in the comment section. Will they have the balls to risk getting disqualified for cheating, arguably, or the backlash on social media just to get the win for the money? I mean, I'm leaning towards, now that I said it that way, yeah, they probably will. Boy, there is no way to get bad press faster or have people lose more respect for Arena quicker than to have everybody commenting on the tournament after the fact and during it saying they're using a deck that exploits the shuffler. They're using a broken cheat deck. That's a thing in Arena. That's the headline. I think Wizards of the Coast might give them like an on the down low warning to either not play red at all, or if they play it, put in 18 lands like you're supposed to. So anyway, yeah, it's really good against mid-range, that's true, or anything slower than mid-range, which aren't very popular in Duo Standard. Okay, whatever. So instead you have to face off against a bunch of quicker, more aggressive decks. You know what I would do? Probably mono white with life gain, like life gain heavy, not that locks it on flood crap, like actual life gain paranoid, like let's mid-range it if we have to, but if I run you over within a Johnny and turn 4, that's cool too deck. And then the second one, make it look like the same deck, but it's got as little red as you can get, but like heroic reinforcements and all that crazy crap. They both beat control, they both beat mid-range, and honestly, at least one of them consistently beats Red Rush. I would absolutely bring that lineup if I were to go to it. That's almost a guaranteed middle placing or better. So Sultai midrange simply leans too hard on its sideboard to be effective, and it's too slow and whatever. He didn't say that, but it is. Now for the decks you will see. First up, Mono Red. Woo! Mono Red is the default archetype in this format. Why? Remember when we said that we wanted linear aggressive archetypes? Hey, remember when we all said Band Goblin Chain Whirler were sick of this Red Rush shit? You remember that? Because Pepperidge Farms does, so f*** you. So this is the most linear, most aggressive one. Yes, it's boring, it's stupid, it's oppressive. Nobody can build anything remotely slow unless it's just 100% control and removal, and it's single-handedly ruining the format. Although, okay, I'll give 10% of the blame to Teferi. How about that? So its primary game plan of super low curve plus difficult to interact with burn spells to finish off the opponent, make it the front runner. Duh, that's why you play white life gain with first strike. The interesting part about red is that it's also the easiest to pre-board against. That is, put cards in the main deck that hedge your matchup percentage in your favor. like 2-cost first strikers, anything that gains life, low-cost counterspells at all, literally just the card Entrancing Melody, and Gleaming Barrier, the card which everybody should be running but nobody is. Oh my god, he says this is the deck many players will start their search on and also the deck they'll have in mind when picking their deck. How many lands do you think are in this deck list that he just posted? The answer is 22! A lot of people with that 22 Mountain Red deck. You lying ass. They're winning with 13. That's how they qualified. You know it. I know it. Patch the software. You asshole. Nobody is running a 22 Mountain deck. The paper version runs 18 for God's sake. Once again, Wizard staff trying to cover up reality by lying to us and saying that anybody in their right mind is playing this. They absolutely are not. Also, the rest of the deck list is wrong too. So, okay, the other one is Esper Control. Big surprise. The deck has a comprehensive array of answers to aggressive decks it's likely to face, plus it doesn't have to worry about those pesky sideboarded games against cards like Duress and Negate. Yeah, that'll shred it. The key advantage of this deck that this deck gets is that it leverages the sideboard in an interesting way. It plays Mastermind's Acquisition to grab a win con or low card or key card, regardless of the matchup. If they have stabilized against mono red, they can grab Lyra Dawnbringer. Literally nobody playing Esper runs that. Again, the mirror, get an Unmoored Ego or Nezahal Primal Tide, which the other person would do too, and it's still a mirror match. That makes absolutely no sense. I'm not sure this guy has ever played Magic in his entire life. Blah, 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 I'm sick of hearing this stupid deck, and his deck list is also bullshit. So, let's see. Next is Mono White Aggro. There we go. Except this has, let me check. Yep, 2 sources of life gain in the entire deck. Nope. Red will shred the crap out of you. This is all about getting the City's Blessing and winning 2 turns later than if you got out of Johnny instead. And you can stall against red and make them kill you twice, which they don't want to do. They will run out of cards. And they put in the 2-1 Dauntless Bodyguard instead of the 2-2 First Striker for 2. What a bunch of idiots. What a bunch of liars. I'll save you some time. His conclusion and the ending is just a bunch of BS, and this guy should never write another article as long as he lives. He's just either willingly lying to us or the worst analyst I've ever seen in my life. Why don't you pull your head out of the Pro Tour results and look at what actually wins and see what the actual original Brewers are building? Because, you know, crazily enough, every time there's a major tournament, the decks that win it are different because everything keeps being like a cat and mouse game. So the decks that are popular now probably won't be popular. Oops, I forgot. These are 64 people, not like several hundred or 1,000 like at a normal GP, and they're not pro players. Well, not all of them. So maybe we will just see copycats, but then again, the people with like 6 subscribers on Twitch that got invited or whatever the hell's going on with that crap, they're going to lose no matter what deck they pick, because they're not good enough to be in the pro scene, period. So this should be one train wreck of a tournament for the first time ever. I'm going to actually cover it, not live or anything. I'm just going to make a video bashing on whatever the hell the result is after the fact, and I can't wait to see how many technical issues it has, because it will. So on that cheery note, I'd recommend doing literally anything else with your life than watching this garbage. I think there's a Pokemon event that weekend or something. So, piss off. I'm going to go eat some pizza.